put your hands on the headboard and hold on tight. Boy, I'm holding on tight to my last nerve and brain cell to live right now because I can't handle this.
Well, hello people on the internet, my name is Kevin and welcome back to another video. Okay guys, so for today's video, I am so excited that I'm finally getting to read this book after so many years of waiting for it. I have got in my hands A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J Maas, the 4th book in the A Court of Thorns and Roses series, one of my favorite series of all time. I'm so excited. I'm so happy it's here in my arms. Well, hands actually, but I'm so happy. Now, if you don't know, as I already said, A Court of Thorns and Roses is one of my favorite series of all time. You might see behind me, actually, I don't think you can see it, but I do have a Reese pillow back there on that little part in my bedroom. I really love the A Court of Thorns and Roses series so much, and I just love Sarah J Maas's characters and world. I just get sucked into them so much and I read them so fast. I love them so much. And so this has been my most anticipated book that was coming out this year because of course it is a continuation of one of my favorite series of all time. And this book in particular follows our character Nesta. And Nesta is the sister of the main character in A Court of Thorns and Roses. I'm going to try not spoil anything right now because obviously this is the 4th book in a series. So if you haven't read A Court of Thorns and Roses, it's gonna be very hard not to talk about any spoilers. But basically, in the A Court of Thorns and Roses series, Nesta has kind of been a character that a lot of people don't like or they really love her. And then there's people also just in the middle. And I am the one in the middle. Like, I don't hate her as a character, but I also don't love her. Like, she's not one of my favorites. So I was a little bit skeptical for this book just for that because I don't love her that much. But I'm not like other people that really don't like her. So I'm really looking forward to seeing where this book goes and maybe it's going to help me understand Nesta as a character more and therefore I'll grow to love her. That's ideally what I want to happen with this book. So this book is also very long. It's 751 pages and I just cannot wait to devour it. Literally, you have no idea how excited I am for this book. I've also heard that this one is supposed to be one of the smuttiest and steamiest books Sarah has ever written. So I don't know what's gonna happen there or where it's gonna go, but we shall see. I might have to put the book in the fridge and cool her down because she's too spicy. Also, before I go and start it, I do want to just remind you that this video is going to have lots of spoilers in it, so if you do not want to be spoiled for this book and you do not want to know anything, then do not continue watching this video because I'm going to share all spoilers. Also, if you have not read A Court of Thorns and Roses, A Court of Mist and Fury, and A Court of Wings and Ruin, I also would suggest not watching this video because I will be referring to things that happened in those books, so I will kind of be spoiling those books also for you. But yeah, if you've already read everything and you just want to know, then keep on watching. It's going to be a ride, it's going to be a journey. This book is probably going to ruin me. This is one of the books that has been helping me so much during this last lockdown in Ireland. Just knowing this book was coming out was really getting me through it, so I cannot wait to start reading and I'm gonna go do that because I need to start. Okay, so editing Kevin just popping in really quick because before the video starts, I just wanted to say that this book does have several content warnings and trigger warnings. So if you are looking to read this book, please check those out because some of those trigger warnings and content that happens in this book and I do discuss in the blog include rape, PTSD, traumatic labor and delivery, and also abuse. So I just want you guys to look out for yourselves before you go into reading this book, and yes, I hope you guys enjoy the vlog. Okay guys, so I am now finally starting the book and I'm in bed and it's like 10 o'clock, but I'm planning on reading this book till who knows what time tonight, reading this until I literally can't keep my eyes open anymore. I'm going to be reading. Okay, so I'm up to chapter 2 already of the book and I'm already loving it so much already because I'm just so excited to be back with these characters. And literally Reese spoke and my love for him just grew even more, and I didn't think that was ever possible, but it did. Basically what just happened is Nesta got called to this meeting basically with like Farah and all of the guys, and Farah was just like, okay, I realized that I should have been there for you after the war and everything, but I wasn't, and now you're just like throwing your life away, sleeping with whoever you want to, living in a little house and just drinking and all this kind of stuff. So she's like, I'm taking everything away from you. And then it just goes, and where? Nesta said, her tone mercifully icy. Am I supposed to go? Farah looked to Cassian. For once, Cassian wasn't grinning. You're coming with me, he said. to train. I bet they're gonna train in more ways than one. Okay guys, so I'm up to page 67 of the book now and I'm on chapter 5 and I am already loving this so much. And I just wanted to talk because I already know that I'm gonna ship Cassian and Nesta so much. I wasn't a huge shipper of them in the first 3 books, but I did ship them sort of, but like I wasn't like a ride or die ship for them, if that makes sense. I just keep repeating the word ship now and it's lost all meaning. Anyways, but basically now it's just such tension between them because obviously in Aqua War they kissed and stuff when like we thought Cassian was gonna die and everything, and so they've clearly had like something in the past that's happened between them and they just kind of have like this tension between the two of them because they both know obviously what happened between them before and it's probably gonna happen again. They are just like bickering with each other because he's obviously bringing her to train in the Illyrian mountains and stuff and she has no interest in doing that. She's like, absolutely not, I do not want to. And honestly, she's kind of relatable right now because I would be the exact same. I would be like, ew, no, I do not want to do that. But if Cassian was the one showing me how to do everything, a bish might just pay attention. So as of right now, they're like bickering with each other. They've moved up to the House of Wind and that's where her and Cassian are staying. Also, Azriel is there as well because he just likes the quiet and everything. Haven't actually seen him yet and I miss Azriel. I want to see him. And so they're having breakfast. He's trying to get her to eat a lot of like protein and stuff so that she can train for a while. And she's like, nope, I'm not doing that. And then she basically says to him like, I hope you don't think that us training together is not going to result in you crawling into my bed. And then Cassian says, oh, it's not going to result in me climbing into your bed. Nesta snickered, victory achieved, and had reached the stairs when he crooned, you'll climb into mine. I'm swooning. But my loyalties obviously still lie with Rhys. But Cassian and Azriel, I love them so much too. So I am gonna swoon over Cassian as well. But my loyalties are still with Rhys. Never forget that. Okay guys, so it is now like 2 a.m. and I'm still going and I'm not even at the 100-page mark yet. And I'm now up to page 95. I really haven't even made that much of a dent into it, but that's okay. Anyways, I'm already stressed. So stressed already because we kind of found out, I think, what's going to be the plot for this book and I'm scared because there's another war. I mean, I think I kind of knew that because I think there's 3 more books, like this one and there's 2 other ones coming. I think it's going to be a 6-part series. So I assumed there was obviously going to be some new war and new villains and all of that kind of stuff. But I wanted some peace and serenity and just be back with my characters and not have to worry about them already. But Sarah J. Maas said, no, sorry, I'm not doing that. But yeah, I'm just already stressed because I just know there's another war coming because we basically just found out. Cassian went to basically Lucian, Eris and Vassa, and he gets there and he starts talking and we find out that Vassa is there, who was one of the mortal queens that was like turned into like this bird song thing that like she transforms into that during the day or nighttime. I think we found out about that in Aqua War or maybe Aquamath. I can't even remember. I really should have reread the series before I read this one, but that's okay. But anyway, she's there and Lucian's there and Eris is there and Eris is talking about how some of his men have gone missing. And he's like, why is that happening? Like, is there like another war happening? Or are there Fae that are still angry or like siding with Hybern from the aftermath of Aqua War and stuff like that? And we find out that Vassa has a sister who is now an immortal queen because she went into the cauldron in Akamath and now she's an immortal queen. And if you remember from Akamath, there is the scenes where Elaine and Nesta become Fae. Elaine gets power from the cauldron and then Nesta takes like a lot of power from the cauldron, but then after Elaine and Nesta do it, the other mortal queens go in to do it. And the first one doing it is Brialyn. She goes into it, but the cauldron is pissed because Nesta took so much power from it. So Brialyn goes into the cauldron. She gets turned into a Fae, but she comes out of it and she's like really old and she's pissed about that because she's like, why did this happen to me? And she finds out the reason that happened is because Nesta took so much power from it. So Brialyn's pissed at Nesta because she thinks Nesta did this to her. And then we also found out that there is another person called Koshche and he is the bone carver and the weaver's older brother, and we found out that he wants to get away from living in this lake because he can't leave the lake, and he really wants to. And so him and Briallen have like teamed up, and they're planning a war because Briallen wants to take revenge on Nesta because she still blames Nesta for being the reason that she turned into an old fae instead of just being like a normal fae. Koschei just wants to leave his little island and fix the world of fae from what it is and get rid of all the humans, I think. I don't really know. I just know there's a war coming and I'm really stressed. I'll let you know when I find out more about the war and everything, but I just know there's a war coming, and it's because of Koschei, which is another frickin' Bonecarver and the Weaver's brother. Like, literally, why are there's so many of them? And then Briallen, just because she's mad that Nesta, when Nesta didn't even do it, the Cauldron did it to her, not Nesta. So that sounds like a personal problem you need to have out with the Cauldron, even though the Cauldron is brickin' broken because they broke it in Aqua War. Okay guys, so it's the next morning and I have made a lot of progress with A Court of Silver Flames. I'm now up to page 145, and when I was reading this last night I actually could have kept going and read a bit more. However, my cousin Denise, who lives in London, is currently reading the book as well, and she was up to chapter 13, and she told me please stop when you get to chapter 13, and then today we could read it together like on FaceTime, and that's what we're gonna do. So when I made it to chapter 13, I stopped, and now I'm going to continue reading it with Denise. I think it'd just be fun for me and her to experience it together and like get to react with each other. But anyways, where I am up to right now is basically, as I already said, Nesta is training with Cassian as part of like her deal with Farah and Reese and all of them. And then she also has to go to the library and do like 5 hours of work every day in like the priestesses. That's a very weird word to say, priestesses. Anyways, in the priestesses like I don't know why I find that so funny to say. In that library with them, and she's like working with a girl named Clotho. We also have a little bit of an insight as to what her power is, because she kind of woke up in the middle of the night and went walking and then fell down the stairs, and to stop herself, she put her hand out to stop, and her handprint is now in the brick. So I'm thinking, is she probably has the power to like go through solid objects, or she has something to do with fire? Because obviously it says silver flames. So is she like Human Torch kind of thing where she has like fire in her hands and that's why she melted into the brickwork with her hand? I don't know. We're gonna find out, but that's just my theory. And also her and Cassian have finally started training because she was like so against like actually training with Cassian, and he finally made like a bargain with her that he'd do her one favor if she promised to train with him for an hour. And she met that bargain, they did it. And then they ended up doing a second hour, and he was like, what's the bargain for working for a second hour? And she was just like, the second hour is on the house. And he was shirtless when they were training, and she was looking at all of his muscles, and like, Nesta knows she loves him. Like, she wants him, he wants her. Just let it happen. Embrace the fae. That's what I say. We rhymed! I'm literally such a poet. And then also at the end of that training scene, Cassian was like saying to her, because he had like this big like moment where he got angry with Nesta because she wouldn't train, and he just let it all out. And he was like, everyone hates you, we all hate you, and all this kind of stuff. And he finally like says to her at the end of the chapter, he's like, I didn't mean what I said, I don't actually hate you, no one hates you, and all this kind of stuff. And then she was just like, I also don't hate you, Cassian. They love each other. Just accept it. And then also another thing I just want to talk about really quickly that happened on page 122. It was one of the days where they were supposed to be training at Windhaven, and Nesta is just not doing the training. She's sitting on this stone in the cold and she's just refusing to train with Cassian. And basically he reaches out a hand to her to get her to come train. She says no. And then it just says, his hazel eyes were bright with pleading in the morning sun, the wind dancing in his dark hair, like he was made from these mountains, crafted from wind and stone. He was so beautiful, not in the way that Azriel and Reese were beautiful, but in an uncut way. Not the only thing that's probably uncut on him, just saying. Savage and unrelenting. She loves him. Like, she loves him. Okay guys, so I just read another chapter and I'm up to page 157 now, chapter 14. But I just wanted to make a little theory, because what we just heard is that Nesta was working in the library again, and she met this girl who she already met earlier on in the book named Gwyneth, who is a priestess that works there, and she's working for someone called Meryl, who is writing a book about the Valkyries, which were apparently a female warrior group similar to the Illyrian warriors, like what Kaz and Azriel and Reese all are. And it said that they're like extinct and like they disappeared after the last war 500 years ago. I don't think that's true. I think that was told for a certain reason. They're probably going to come back into it, and I'm here for that. We want to see the Valkyries. I'm here for it. Okay guys, so we need to talk. We need to talk. I am now up to page 185, and this book is already so smutty, and they literally haven't even had sex yet. I know that Sarah apparently edited a lot of it out, so what did she keep in? That's what I want to know. Basically, they got up very close and personal to each other, and they were like talking and everything. Cassian says, "Do you know what I'm going to think of tonight?" A small sound must have come out of her because he grinned as he stepped to the side, let go of her hand. The absence of his warmth, his scent was like a bucket of ice water. He smiled, nothing but wickedness and challenge. "I'm going to think of that look on your face." He took another step down the hall. "I'm always thinking of that look on your face." When I tell you I nearly screamed, I'm losing my mind over this book already. Also, I nearly cried because Kaz and Nesta were having like a real heart-to-heart moment where he was talking about his mum and how he was taking away from her when he was like 3 years old. I got so emotional reading that, and I can't with this book. I just can't. And also another little thing before I continue. I just want to say that Gwyn, the priestess that works in the library, I do not trust her. I really think something's gonna happen with her. I don't trust her. I really don't. Okay guys, I've moved to a new location. I'm down beside my bookshelf again on my beanbag, and I had to take a moment because they finally just kissed and I'm screaming. And also another thing that's happened is Nesta has tried to see if the priestesses in the library will come train with her and Cassian. She has like a sign-up sheet for it, but no one has signed up yet because the priestesses obviously have the past that they had with all of the men and stuff like that, so they just don't want to be around another man and be trained by them. But she's hoping that someone will sign up and train, and I'm assuming Gwen is probably going to sign up, but we'll have to wait and see. Okay guys, so it happened, and Cassian and her were together and stuff, and they were going to do the thing, but then like he reached that point before she did, and that was it, and it just stopped then, and she was like, "Oh, looks like someone's quick off the mark." I died when she said that. That was so funny. And then basically that whole scene ended, and then we found out that Azriel has found out information which I'm assuming relates to the war that I've already predicted is gonna happen because of that freaking Brialin and Koshche or whatever his name is. Azriel has found out information, and now they have to meet at this house, and they're gonna tell Reese and everything, and they're gonna find out. I'm just so scared.
A few moments later.
We just found out Farrah's pregnant. I'm fine. Okay guys, so I'm up to page 249 now of the book, and what just happened is, remember how I said earlier how Cassian got to that point before Nesta did? Well, they just had another go, and he got her to reach that point, and now he's like, we're even now. We stand. We love that. But at the same time, just like, oh my god, do it already. And then also the other thing is, we know Farah's having a boy, and I love that. And like Azriel and Cassian were talking about how they're going to be uncles, and made my heart so happy. So we found out the plot of like what Brialin and Koshche are doing. So basically we found out that Brialin wants to get the cauldron back that was destroyed in Akawar, because she wants to go back into the cauldron and become younger again. So that's her main plot, is that she wants to find the cauldron again. But she's also after the drove. Hi, it's me again. I'm just popping in because I just said drove. And if you've read the book, you know it's not called The Drove, what I'm about to talk about. They're called The Dread Trove. I don't know why, but in this whole vlog, I'm going to constantly keep saying drove, because I combined the two words and just made drove instead of dread trove. That's what the objects are, but I just keep calling them the drove, and I'm so sorry. It's so annoying watching this bag and see me constantly say drove. Which is basically these 3 different items that were created by the cauldron's power. And those 3 items are a mask, which is, I'm assuming, the mask that's on the cover. Then there is also a harp, and then there is a crown. And they all do 3 different things. So the mask can bring back the dead and raise the dead. The harp can open doors to other worlds. When that was mentioned, I was like, oh my god, is Sarah J Maas gonna do a crossover with all of her series. I really hope that eventually happens at some point. And then the other one is the crown, which basically means that whoever wears the crown can like manipulate whoever they want to do anything that they want. So basically they found out that Brialyn wants to find the cauldron so that she could be made young again. Then she wants those 3 items so that she can help start this war, take over the war with Koschei and everything, because the treaty was never signed that they were meant to go figure out at the end of Akawar. So basically like all of the different Fae enemies and everything in this world all just want to fight for the land now because there is no treaty signed. If Brialyn finds her cauldron, she's going to be young again. Then her and Koschei are going to find these drove objects, and then they're basically just going to take over the whole world, and I'm scared. We've also found out that anyone who was made by the cauldron, like was turned into a Fae through the cauldron, such as Brialyn, she was made in the cauldron, Elaine and Nesta were also made in the cauldron in Akamath. They're able to find all of these objects, and Nesta has basically decided that she is the one that's going to be hunting them all down and finding them. Okay guys, I'm up to page 294, and I think it's time the book goes in the fridge. This book is so smutty. It needs to cool down, needs to go in the freezer. I have to. Like, the thing just happened where Nesta and Cassian were at the dinner table. If you've read that scene, you know what I'm talking about. Goes in the freezer. Don't have space in the freezer, that doesn't matter. It's gonna go into the fridge. Right down there, beside the milk. It needs to cool itself down.
A few moments later.
Okay, I can't keep it in there because I need to read it. Back we go. Okay guys, so I'm now up to page 327 of the book, and so much has just been going on. I'm literally losing my mind over this. I'm constantly afraid something's gonna happen to a character. One thing that I have been really loving is Nesta made friends with this girl named Emery who lived in Windhaven, where she was supposed to be training with Cassian. She's also become friends with this other girl named Gwyn, who I told you who works in the library and stuff, and she convinced both of them to come train with her and Cassian, and they are, and I love it. And the friendship that just blossomed between them, I'm just so happy. And just seeing them all come together and they talk about their love for books and everything, it's just warming my heart and I love it so much. Okay guys, so I've read a little bit more and we just found out that Farah's baby has wings and she needs to be in that form to give birth to an Illyrian baby, and like the doctor said that she can't switch back or shapeshift again because it could disturb the pregnancy. And now I'm so scared that Farah's gonna die in childbirth, and I'm not here for this. Like, is this the reason we've changed to Nesta's POV for these books? Is because Farah dies? No, not okay. Me and Denise are going through it right now. Denise is also not okay. Okay guys, so I'm now up to page 368 and I'm up to chapter 36. So basically one of the things that has happened is Nesta has found out where the mask is. It's in this bog called the Urid bog. And so her, Kaz and Asriel have all gone there to like find the mask. And they're walking around this bog and stuff, and then this like mist happens and Kaz and her are walking, and then suddenly Asriel goes missing, and it turns out that Beren's army of men that have gone missing, that Eris had talked to Kaz about with Lucian and Vasa ages ago near the start of the book, and I was talking about that. He had men that went missing and we found the men. They just showed up in the mist and hurt Asriel. They shot an ash arrow into his wings, and Kaz and Nesta were like freaking out, and Kaz brought Nesta to like this tree and like put her there to like stay safe. And Kaz went back to Asriel and he ended up like just destroying all of the army until there was only 2 left, which they've now bounded, so I think they're gonna probably hold them like hostage and find out what they know. But then Nesta is like on her tree in safety and she's like worried about Kaz, so she gets down from her tree, and I got annoyed because I was like, why are you getting off the tree? Don't know why I just hit myself with the book. And so she starts walking along the bog, and then this like creature starts to crawl out of the water, and it literally reminded me of The Grudge. If you've ever seen that horror movie The Grudge, it reminded me of that, and I was terrified. And it started crawling towards her. It was a kelpie, which is like this creature that lives in the water, and it just like basically kills people. It takes her under the water, and I started like getting so scared. I was like, oh my god, what's happening? And then Kaz realizes she's gone. He freaks out. Then she's like under the water, like thrashing and stuff to try to get away from the kelpie, and he's like tormenting her and just teasing her. Then basically she's like thinking she's gonna die, and she starts like using her magic because she's trying to summon her magic, and she's like, oh my god, please come, I need to get out of this, like help me, help me, help me. And because, as I already said, she's made from the cauldron, like calls to like, so her calling out for her magic actually made her call out to the mask that was in the water, in the bog, and now she's after getting the mask and she just threw it onto her face, and then the chapter ended. So now the whole cover of the book makes sense because it's the mask and she's put on the mask, so obviously she's going to destroy this Kelpie and rescue herself, and oh my god, all of the emotions I am going through right now. Okay guys, I'm up to page 395 now. I just finished chapter 37. If you know what happens in chapter 37, you know. Cassian and Nesta finally did the deed, and it was just sex, as they kept saying, just sex, because they're trying to play it off as being friends with benefits kind of things, but they both have feelings, so like they're just gonna hurt each other. But that scene, oh, I have absolutely no words for what I just read. We all know that Sarah cut out so much of that kind of stuff from the book, so like, what did she cut out if this is what she left in? And there was literally one part in it where like Cassian said, I want you to ride me into oblivion. I can't. I genuinely can't. I need to cool this book down again, but it's nighttime now and I'm not going to go down to the fridge and put it back into the fridge. But I have a fan, so I'm going to go cool my book down with a fan. I don't even know how to explain how I feel about what I just read. Like, I feel like I just did something awful by reading that. Like, I don't know, that was just... So like I said, I'm going down here. I have my fan here. I'm gonna put it to the air conditioning setting. Cool my book down. Let's just leave that there for a moment. Okay guys, so I'm now up to page 441. And basically what just happened is they just had sex again. And it was intense once again. I'm literally just over here like this. Literally so smutty and steamy. I literally cannot cope. But at the end of it, they did their bit or whatever. And then they go again. And Cassian's just like, get on your hands and knees, put your hands on the headboard and hold on tight. Boy, I'm holding on tight to my last nerve and brain cell to live right now because I can't handle this. Okay guys, so I'm now up to page 454 of the book, and it's also the next day, by the way. And I just wanted to talk about a couple of different things because I feel like I've just been like reacting to like the smut and everything, and that's obviously part of the book, but there's just so much more to it that I don't want people to think that this book is just that, because there's literally so much more to this. Because with Nesta's character, I already talked about how at the very beginning of this vlog, how I said I never really was obsessed with her. She like wasn't a favorite character of mine, but I wasn't like really anti-Nesta going into this book. And so I just want to talk about that because in this book, I think the way her trauma has been dealt with is just something that I really love how Sarah J Maas does. She already did this as well with Hunt and Bryce in House of Earth and Blood, and I really loved how she showed those characters how they were dealing with their traumatic past and how they were able to like overcome those moments, but at the same time they would have a moment where something would trigger it and it would just send them back into that dark place. And I liked that depiction of it because I felt like it was very realistic, and it's something that a lot of us can probably relate to. And once again, it's something that she's done with Nesta's character, because Nesta has had such a traumatic past, especially with her going through the cauldron and becoming Fae against her will when she did not want to. Everything that she went through with Thomas back in the village that she's living, and then with her father dying in Aqua War and she blames herself for his death. And there's just so much in her that she has been going through, and so much darkness inside of her that consumes her so many times throughout the book, that you really begin to understand her character, and you understand that that trauma stays with her all of the time, and it just easily creeps back up on her. And that's just something I want to applaud Sarah J Maas for again, is just that depiction of trauma. I find it very accurate because I'm sure we all have our own traumas and stuff, and I just really see parts of myself in Nesta during those moments, especially also where how she always kind of like removes herself from the situation and hides herself away from the rest of the group, because that's also just another prominent aspect of someone who's going through a lot of darkness in their life. I really like how that has been done, and especially with how gradually over this book as well, with Nesta's character development, we've seen her go through this phase where she was so against anything or anyone trying to help her, and like the whole intervention and all that kind of thing, and then it just gradually stuff starts to work for her and she starts to feel herself come back to herself. There was even like a line in here where she was meditating basically with her friends Gwyn and Emery, and at the end of it she like let out her breath and she was just like, she felt the most herself that she'd felt in years. I just loved that line. I loved that moment, and it's just so beautiful watching her flourish and just come back into herself, while also at the same time overcoming everything that she's gone through, and she's finally like reaching out to people or like letting people in, and the way she's finding this comfort now with Cassian. I'm just really loving that development, and I think that's such a huge part of this book that I really don't want anyone to overlook because they're just thinking of the smut, because I think that's such a huge part and it's one of the main reasons I'm really enjoying it. And I'm just loving the friendship she's forming with Emery and Gwen. It's making me so happy, and like she's now starting to think of her future and like set goals for herself, and that's something Nesta wouldn't have thought about in Aquawar. It's just so much growth, and I think it's so important not to forget that because it's so well done. And one of those growths that I'm talking about is she's now thinking about starting this whole band of warriors, of female warriors, and she wants to like form it with like Gwyn and Emery and everything, and she wants to set it up in the future. I love that. Character growth is one of my favorite things in a book. Like if you show me a character go through something and come out at the other end, and how they've just adapted and become such a stronger character, I will eat that up. I love that. Anyways, basically at the end of the chapter where I got to, we kind of found out a lot of drama because Nesta and Cassian kind of went to this blacksmith and just let her like bang out and make some weapons, because she's been talking about, like I said, about starting her own group of warriors and everything, and also just wanting to fight and use weapons. And so he brought her to a blacksmith to let her try and make some weapons. So she goes and does that, and she makes like 3 different weapons. She makes like a sword, a dagger, and something else. And then a couple of pages or chapters later, the blacksmith shows up to Rhys's house and like drops off the weapons, and he's like, we're not touching these are cursed, get them away from here. And Rhys and everything is just like, what? How are they cursed? And then like Rhys and Amren can like sense the bad energy coming from them. And we find out when the Nesta was hammering these swords and everything and these weapons, she was putting some of her cauldron power into the weapons. So now she has now made new drove items. So like, as I said, how about like the mask and the harp and the crown, they're all the drove things. And so with her making these swords, she has put some of her cauldron energy into them, and now they are also drove artifact things. So we have like this magical sword now, a dagger and everything, and it's just insane, and they don't know what to do with them. They're like, oh my god, should we just throw them away or something? And it's like, no, we should probably use them. And Amren's suggesting that like, hey, Rhys, why don't you now suddenly want to just be the High King of like the whole of Prythian? Because we have the mask, we have Nesta who's so powerful, we have all of us who are powerful, and now you just have these 3 extra weapons that are also very powerful. And Amren's just like, you're not going to get a better time than this than to become the High King of Prythian. And Rhys doesn't want to do it. He's like, no, absolutely not. I don't want that power and everything. But Amren's just like, okay then, but you might not get this opportunity again. This is fate that all of this is happening. Guys, if Rhys ends up becoming High King, I am going to high-key lose my mind. And then also another thing, we kind of found out that Rhys has been doing a lot of research in like libraries and stuff and trying to figure out how Feyre is going to be able to deliver this baby that has Illyrian wings now. And it's not looking good. They're not figuring out anything how they're going to do it. And I'm so scared for Feyre. If she dies, I actually don't know if I'm going to be able to survive that. I really don't think I will. Okay guys, so I'm now up to page 513 and I'm up to part 3 of the book, which is called Valkyrie. I told you Valkyrie was going to come back at some point, and I knew that that's probably what Nesta is doing. She's making like a new band of warriors called the Valkyries. That's most likely what Nesta is doing. But anyways, what has happened since I last spoke to you is Nesta now knows that she made those weapons and they're that powerful, and she knows that they all took a vote as to whether to tell her or not, and she was mad at Amren and Rhys because they voted against her not to tell her. So then, because she was so angry, she ended up telling Feyre about how she's most likely not going to survive giving birth to the baby, and Feyre obviously didn't know this. They had been keeping it from her, and she was very upset about that. And Rhys was very pissed that Nesta told her. So then Cassian and Nesta have now gone away and they went like hiking kind of thing. And during that scene, there was such an emotional scene between Nesta and Cassian where Nesta just broke down to him and just
spilled everything out to him. And I was tearing up reading that scene, and I was so emotional. And I love Nesta. She's grown so much on me. She talked about how like she can't stand to be around fires because the crackling of the logs reminds her of her father's neck snapping when he died in Aqua War. And it's just like that, how that is a trigger for her. And that's why she couldn't be around them in houses and stuff, because they all had fires on and the logs were crackling and she just couldn't bear to be around it. And then Cassian was there saying like, please just let me in, just talk to me. I'm not going to say that it's going to get better anytime soon. I'm not going to say all of these different things, but he's going to say, I will stand by you. I will listen. I will be here. It will get better, and all of this kind of things. And I just love them so much. I ship them literally so much. I love Nesta. I love Cassian. I just love everything. Okay guys, I'm now up to page 540 and they found the harp. It was underneath the prison. And when Nesta touched the harp, it like made a connection to Brialyn, because we know Brialyn has the crown. They like made a connection, and now she knows where Nesta is and that she has the harp, and she was like, oh, you've got some nice friends there. So now I'm so stressed for Gwen and Emery. I can't handle all of this. I'm worrying over every single character. And literally as they walked away from the harp and everything, and Nesta says Cassian that like, I really have friends and everything with Emery and Gwen, and I think you might be a friend too, she was saying to Cassian. And I think she was just about to say that she loved him, and then he was just like, run, because one of the cells in the prison was open, and it was Lyanthus's cell, which is this creature that like hurt Cassian in the past. And I'm so stressed because now he's loose and something bad's gonna happen again. I literally have 210 pages left, and I don't want it to end, but I'm so scared for what's to come. Okay guys, so I have literally been reading all day on and off. I'm now up to page 612. I'm almost finished, and I'm just so happy with the scene that we just got, because it's winter solstice again. And if you've read Aquafast, you know that winter solstice happens during that book, and Castian had got Nesta a present that she didn't accept. I think him or her, one of them threw it into the lake, and we found out that it was actually a book that he had gotten her. And then he got her a new present for this winter solstice, and it was an orb that plays music, because previously in the book they danced at this ball together and it was amazing when they were dancing, and he went and got the music that was used in the dancing, because we found out that Nesta loves the music and it's something that really helps her. And so he got her an orb that will play the music that was played when they were dancing. It's so cute. And then also they basically just confessed to each other that they're never going to leave each other. They didn't say I love you, but it kept saying those unspoken words were in both of their eyes, so clearly they both love each other. They just won't say it. Okay everyone, so I'm now at the page 651 of the book. I have 100 pages left and I've just started part 4. Basically, one of the things we found out is that Cassian and Nesta are officially mates, but I feel like we've all been knew that since Aquamap and Aqua War. Like, we've all known that, but it's been officially declared. And another thing that has happened is like Nesta, Gwyn and Emery had like a sleepover together, and they became like the Valkyrie and everything, and they have such a good found family aspect, and Nesta's just so happy with them, and she just feels like she's found her people, and it literally makes me so happy. The found family trope is one of my favorite tropes in books, and just seeing how happy they all are together as friends and just loving each other, it makes me so happy. And they even made like friendship bracelets at one point, and I loved it. It was everything. And then also in their training they had to do like an obstacle course kind of thing, which was basically the qualifier for the Blood Rite, which is this like competition thing that you go through as an Illyrian warrior to become like a very official like best of the best kind of thing. And Cassian, Asriel and Rhys have completed it and stuff, but it's supposed to be very challenging. Not many people survive it, not many people make it through it and all this kind of stuff. And they qualified for it by doing that obstacle course. And then part 4 just ended with all 3 of the girls sleeping in like in separate rooms and stuff. And Nesta was woken up by a scream, and then she felt like there was someone at her face and everything, and then she got tackled by someone. And we just found out, because Cassian was like wondering where they all were, and Rhys was just like, the Blood Rite just started and all 3 of them have gone into it, and I'm so scared something's gonna happen to them, and I don't want it to happen because I love all 3 of them and their friendship. I don't want anything to happen. And also I'm still on FaceTime with Denise, and Denise is also not okay. As we can see, she's not doing great.
I'm gonna cry again.
Yeah, we're not okay. I don't know how I'm going to survive these last 100 pages, but we're going to do it. I also have, fun fact, a toasty. So me and my toasty are going to get through this together.
I'm not okay. It's okay, Kevin.
Guys, we just found out, or I don't know, I didn't remember this from Akawar or whatever, but Farah and Reese have a bond, or like a bond made together that if one of them goes, the other goes too. Like they won't leave this world together. I was already stressed for Farah and now I'm worried about Reese. I'm not okay. Okay guys, I'm up to page 676 and I'm so nervous because basically Cassian and Azriel and all have gone to find Eris because he was taken by Brialyn, so they're trying to do that. And then also the blood riot is happening, which Nesta, Gwyn and Emery are all in, and literally it's reading just like I'm reading the Hunger Games because they're all trying to get to the top of this mountain to like win and everything, but then they bump into other people taking part in the blood riot and you can like kill them and stuff, and then there's all these beasts roaming the forests and everything and they're killing people too. I feel like I'm reading the Hunger Games. If anything happens to the three of them, I'm going to be so upset. And also, remember the bracelets I said that they made? They also have like magic in them because Nesta made like magic with them that has like a tracking device. So she's able to find out where Gwen and what's Emery's is in the like area and stuff by just tracking it with the bracelets. I'm losing my mind. I'm losing my mind. Okay everyone, so I'm just hopping in as editing Kevin right now because I need to explain a couple of the clips that you're about to see. So when I was reading the very end of this book, I didn't vlog. I just forgot to do it because I was so in the moment and I just couldn't stop reading because I just needed to know what was going to happen. But because I was on a Zoom call with my cousin Denise and my best friend Purina had already read the book, like she was already finished it, and she knew what me and Denise were coming up to. So she wanted to film our reactions to some of the things that were about to happen. And luckily she sent me on those clips, so I have them to include right now. So this is clips that were taken from a phone as we were on a Zoom call, so hopefully you guys don't mind. But I need to explain some of the clips that you're about to see as well so you know the context. So the first clip you're about to see is when they're in the blood riot, Nesta, Emery and Gwyn, and it's the moment when the three of them finally find each other in the blood riot and are reunited. That's what the first clip is you see. And the next clip that we're about to see I think is very obvious, and it's when Brialyn dies in the book because Nesta unleashes her power during the blood riot and kills Brialyn. And then this final group of clips you're about to see is when it's announced that something is wrong with Farah, and basically then her pregnancy and everything happening there. That's what you're about to see.
They found Gwyn, and then they were like, I can't believe you two came to find me. And they were like, of course we did. It's what sisters do. I'm not okay.
Period.
Bye, Brialyn.
Pause.
Brialyn just died so quickly.
If Farah dies, Reese dies.
I'm not gonna be okay. If that happens, I will burn this book. Burn it.
I'll actually throw it in the bin. I'm not joking. It's going in the bin.
I can't handle the possibility of Reese dying. Absolutely not.
Oh no.
She just said, I love you, Farah. Oh, Farah, no.
I can't see.
I haven't started tearing up yet because I'm refusing to believe it.
Farah, darling, no goodbyes.
It's fine. If she's not gonna die, she's fine. It's fine. See, it's fine. Everything's fine.
And the baby's okay. Reese is literally a daddy now.
Okay everyone, so it is the next day and I have finished reading A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J Maas, and I love this book so much. I'm giving it 5 out of 5 stars. I just loved it. I think this might be my new favorite Sarah J Maas book. I know that's a big statement, but I think it might be. And I've never like read a Sarah J Maas book and loved it so much where I've wanted to immediately start rereading it once I finished it. That's how I feel about this book. I immediately want to go back and reread it and tab all of my favorite parts. Like, I loved it that much. But anyways, let's do a little more recap on everything that happened at the end. The last 100 pages of this book were so intense. Like I said, it was like I was reading something from the Hunger Games. I lived for the whole blood right moment in this book. Absolutely loved it. And like how Nesta at one point stopped to fight off Brelius, Emery's cousin, whatever his name was, to fight off him and let Emery and Gwyn get to the top of the mountain and win the blood right. She let herself do that and they won, which I was so happy about. And then Briallen and Cassian ended up showing up and Cassian killed the cousin guy. And then we find out that Cassian was under the control of Briallen because she had the crown and she was influencing him. And then we thought like Cassian was going to kill Nesta. And then he ended up nearly killing himself because he turned the dagger on himself. And I was like so stressed. I was like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? But then like Nesta unleashed her power and she just went off and she literally obliterated Briallen, like literally turned her into ash. And I was like, oh, okay, Briallen did not last long. She was very easily killed off, but bye, honey. So that might be a criticism I could see a lot of people having, is that maybe she was killed off very easily and way too quick. But I personally loved it because I was like, oh my god, this is so epic what Nesta is doing right now. And then we basically find out that Farah has gone into labor, and that's where I started tearing up. And I was like, oh my god, Farah. Oh my god, Farah. Oh my god, Farah. And I feel like that whole scene should definitely have had a trigger warning or content warning, because very much a traumatic thing, especially if that's something that would trigger you, especially if you had complications with childbirth or anything like that before. I feel like that should definitely have had a trigger warning. So basically that happened. We feel like Farah's going to die, the baby's going to die, and Rhys is going to die. But then Nesta ends up saying to the cauldron, like the darkness has constantly been there the whole time. She says that she's giving up her power, like give it up, I just want you to save all three of them. It happens, her power is taken, and the three of them are all saved. And then literally Rhys and Farah now have a son, and his name is Nyx, which I personally love the name. I think it's so cute. And especially because there was a bonus chapter with Farah and Rhysand, and we found out how they came up with the name Nyx. And I just loved that so much. I thought it was really cute, and I'm just so happy they have a son now, and I just cannot wait to see all of the fan art about it because it's so cute. And then basically to end off the whole series, Nesta, Emery and Gwyn are now basically the Valkyries, which we stan. We absolutely love them as a trio, literally icons. Powerpuff Girls, we stan. I'm here for this. And then basically Cassian and Nesta want to have like a mating ceremony, and that's what they're planning at the end of the book. Nesta also goes with Farah to show Nyx his granddad, so their father's grave, and I loved that so much. It really touched me as well. That's just how it all ended. And then also we had an Azriel bonus chapter too, and I loved that chapter as well because I think it's going to really divide the fandom as to whether they're Team Azriel and Elaine or Team Azriel and Gwyn. I personally am Team Azriel and Gwyn. Also, another thing that I don't think I mentioned in here was there was a part where Emery and Moore had like this little moment where Emery kind of blushed when she saw Moore. So I'm like here for the fact that there could be a potential romance between Emery and Moore. I am so here for that, and I really hope that happens. I don't know whose book is going to be next. I'm assuming it might be Azriel's book that comes next, but we don't know. It's not actually official yet, but I'm pretty sure it might be Azriel's. I loved the character growth of Nesta and how she dealt with her trauma, and how she had this like full circle moment where her and Farah finally reconnected and loved each other again. And also just the way she found her own family with Gwyn and Emery, and how she now has a future that she's excited about. And I think there was actually a line here where she said she was finally happy again, and it made me happy because she's so happy with all of these friends that she has now and the future that she has with the Valkyries. And literally that plotline and that friendship growth and that character arc with Nesta is probably my favorite writing that Sarah J Maas has ever done. I loved it so much. I could relate to so many parts of it, and I just loved it. Another thing I want to mention before I wrap up this video is something that I think a lot of people are probably going to ask me because they know I'm a Rhys stan, and they're probably going to say, did this book make me hate Rhysand? Because I know a lot of people, when they read this, it made them not like Rhys anymore. I didn't have that situation, but bearing in mind, I just think I'm extremely biased to Rhys because I love him that much. But I will say I loved that in this book we read through Nesta's eyes and how she doesn't idolize Rhys like the rest of the inner court does, because I think that's so realistic in life. Because There's always probably someone that you know in real life that everybody loves, but you do not have that same love for them. Like, you don't look at them the same way everyone else is doing. And I found it very interesting to finally read through someone's perspective that wasn't putting Rhys on this high pedestal throughout the other 3 books, like ACOTAR, ACOMAF, AFOWAR. Like, he was on such a high pedestal that he was amazing, the best of the best, like literally iconic. But in this one, Nesta's like really looking at him and like showing you different aspects of Rhys that you weren't looking at or like overlooking because of how he was shown in the other books. So I actually really enjoy seeing him through the eyes of someone that does not idolize him and does not love him like everyone else does. And yeah, that is going to be it for this vlog and everything I have to say. There's probably so many things. Oh my god, I just realized something I didn't talk about. The House of Wind. I need to live in the House of Wind so badly. Like, the way the house just answers to everything Nesta wants when she's just like, I want chocolate, I want to run a bath, I need romance novels, and the house just recommends her books. Like, I want to live in this house so badly. Okay, but besides from that, I genuinely think that's everything I have to talk about this book. But if there is something that you guys have read in this book and you really wished I spoke about, just comment it down below and I'll answer the comments and talk about it there, because I know there's definitely so many parts in here I haven't spoken about. Literally just comment down below and we can talk about it there. That is going to be it for this video. I really hope that you guys enjoyed it. Let me know down below in the comments if you've read the book and what you thought of it. I would love to know. And other than that, I shall see you all next time in my next video. So goodbye, guys.